He teased her about cooking, so she offered herself as the meal. Theo Bennett wiped sweat from his brow as he studied the bizarre contraption that passed for a kitchen on Nixara. After 6 years of interstellar engineering, he thought he'd seen it all. He was wrong. "This isn't a kitchen, it's a meditation chamber," he muttered, examining what appeared to be a series of crystalline bowls that emitted soft pulses of light. "It is both, actually," came a melodic voice from behind him. Theo turned to find a Nixaran woman observing him with curious silver eyes. Her skin was a soft lavender that deepened to rich purple along her high cheekbones and the elegant column of her neck. Unlike many Nixarans who wore flowing garments, she was dressed in something resembling a chef's uniform, though made of a shimmering material that seemed to change color with her breathing. "I'm Theo Bennett, lead engineer on the reconstruction project," he said, extending his hand before remembering that Nixarans didn't shake hands. He awkwardly lowered it. "I am Zara, head curator of sensory experiences," she replied with formal precision. "What humans call a chef," Theo smiled. "Well, Zara, I'm supposed to help rebuild this kitchen, but I'm not sure I understand what I'm looking at." "That is because you are thinking with your eyes and hands, not with your essence." She moved gracefully to one of the crystal bowls and placed her fingertips along its rim. The bowl began to glow with a warm amber light. "On Nixara, we do not simply combine ingredients. We infuse our creations with emotional resonance." As she spoke, the air around the bowl shimmered, and a scent like cinnamon and something alien but pleasant filled the room. "So you cook with feelings?" Theo asked skeptically. Zara's expression didn't change, but the light in the bowl flickered briefly. "That is a simplification, but not entirely incorrect. Our physical forms require sustenance like yours, but we derive equal nourishment from emotional energy." Over the next week, Theo worked alongside Zara, trying to understand the peculiar requirements of a Nixaran kitchen. The colony had requested upgrades that would accommodate both human and Nixaran cooking. Methods, a diplomatic gesture. As the two species continued their tentative alliance, Theo found himself fascinated by Zara's methodical approach. She moved with precision, never wasting emotion, her face serene and focused. Unlike the other Nixarans he'd met, who often displayed their emotions openly, Zara maintained a composed demeanor that bordered on detachment. "Do you ever laugh?" he asked her one afternoon as they calibrated what he'd learned was an emotional amplifier, a device that enhanced the chef's projected feelings into the food. "Humor is not necessary for culinary excellence," she replied without looking up. "Maybe not, but it makes the process more enjoyable." Zara paused, her silver eyes meeting his. "We have different understandings of enjoyment, Theo Bennett. For my people, the deepest satisfaction comes from perfect harmony, not from disorder." "And yet," Theo said, gesturing around them, "you're helping create a kitchen that's half human chaos. Why?" For the first time, something like curiosity flickered across her features. "Perhaps because perfection can become stagnant without new elements," Theo grinned. "Is that your polite way of saying I bring interesting chaos?" "It is my polite way of saying you bring something different," Zara replied. But Theo could have sworn he saw the faintest hint of a smile touch her purple lips before she turned back to her work. The official unveiling of the hybrid kitchen was scheduled for the following evening. Colony officials from both species would attend, making it a high-profile diplomatic event. Theo worked through the night, making final adjustments to the thermal regulators that would allow both traditional cooking and Nixaran emotional infusion to occur simultaneously. When morning came, he found Zara already there, her purple skin luminescent in the soft dawn light filtering through the dome. "You're early," Theo remarked, stifling a yawn. "I am preparing a special demonstration," she replied. Her silver eyes focused on an array of what Theo had learned were essence containers, vessels designed to capture and hold specific emotional states. "Can I help?" he offered. Zara hesitated. "Your emotional range is different from ours, but perhaps that is what this dish requires." She gestured toward a crystalline basin. "Place your hands here and think of something that brings you joy." Theo complied, resting his palms on the cool surface. He closed his eyes and thought of Earth, summer evenings on his grandmother's porch, fireflies blinking in the darkness. The basin began to glow with golden light, and Zara made a soft sound of approval. Your joy is nostalgic, interesting. Throughout the day, they worked side by side. Theo watched in fascination as Zara combined conventional ingredients, both Earth-imported and Nixaran, with the emotional essences they'd captured. Her movements were like a dance, precise yet fluid, as she wove together scents, flavors, and feelings. It's like watching poetry, Theo said without thinking. Zara paused, her head tilting slightly. Poetry is pattern and rhythm in words. This is pattern and rhythm in sensation. Exactly, Theo smiled. You're an artist. I am a curator, she corrected. But her voice was softer than usual. That evening, as dignitaries filled the new kitchen space, Zara presented her showcase dish, a swirling constellation of flavor points suspended in a glowing amber field. This represents the convergence of our worlds, she explained to the assembled guests. Human ingredients infused with Nixaran essence. Theo was given the honor of taking the first taste. He used the special utensil Zara had provided, which captured a portion of the floating creation. As it touched his tongue, he experienced a cascade of sensations, sweetness, warmth, and something deeper, like the feeling of coming home after a long journey. But there was something missing, a hollowness at the center of the experience that he couldn't quite identify. Well? Zara asked, and he realized everyone was watching him. Without thinking, Theo smiled and said, It's amazing, but tastes like you forgot the love in it. The room fell silent. The human officials looked confused while the Nixarans seemed shocked. Zara's silver eyes widened, and the lights in the room flickered momentarily. Love is the most sacred of essences, one elderly Nixaran whispered to a human companion, not to be spoken of lightly. Zara stepped closer to Theo, her composed demeanor showing the first real crack he'd seen. Then perhaps, she said, her voice barely audible, you should taste me instead. The human diplomats coughed awkwardly, but the Nixarans nodded as if she had said something perfectly reasonable. Theo felt heat rush to his face as he realized there was a cultural implication he was missing entirely. I would be honored, he managed to say, following the cue from the Nixarans' reactions. As the gathering continued, Zara maintained her professional demeanor, but Theo caught her glancing at him with new awareness. Something had changed between them. A boundary crossed, though he wasn't entirely sure what it meant. In tensions, 3 days passed before Theo saw Zara again. The kitchen project was officially complete, though he would remain on Nixara for another month to address any issues that arose. He had begun to think that perhaps he had imagined the tension of that evening, or that he had committed some cultural faux pas that Zara preferred to forget. Then came the chime at his quarters, just as the colony's artificial night cycle began. When the door slid open, Zara stood there no longer in her professional attire but dressed in a simple flowing garment of deep violet that complemented her purple skin. May I enter? She asked formally. Of course. Theo stepped aside, suddenly aware of his casual earth clothes and the disarray of his temporary living space. Zara glided in, her silver eyes taking in everything with quiet interest. Your space reflects you, she observed. Organized chaos, Theo laughed. I'll take that as a compliment. She turned to face him directly. You said my dish lacked love. There was no accusation in her voice, only curiosity. I wish to understand what you meant. I spoke without thinking, Theo admitted. On Earth, we sometimes talk about food made with love. It's just an expression for when someone puts their heart into cooking. The heart is a circulatory organ, Zara said, but there was a hint of teasing in her tone. You humans speak in such imprecise metaphors. What about you? Theo asked, remembering her response. What did you mean when you said I should taste you instead? Zara moved closer and Theo noticed a subtle fragrance emanating from her, something like jasmine but with an alien undertone that made his pulse quicken. Among my people, to share essence is the deepest form of connection. When we prepare food, we infuse it with our emotional state. Her voice softened. To taste someone directly without the medium of food is to know them completely. And that's what you offered me? Theo asked, his mouth suddenly dry. Yes. Zara raised her hand, hesitating just before touching his face. May I show you? When Theo nodded, she placed her palm against his cheek. A warmth spread from the point of contact, not just physical heat, but something deeper, like sunshine reaching into his mind. He felt her curiosity, her dedication to her craft, her fascination with his differences. "This is how we truly communicate," she whispered. Acting on instinct, Theo raised his own hand to her face, mirroring her gesture. Zara's eyes widened in surprise, then fluttered closed as they connected. "You're feeling me too," she said with wonder. "Is that not how it works?" Theo asked. "Most species cannot project, only receive." A smile, a real smile, transformed her face. "You are full of surprises, Theo Bennett." As they stood there, connected through touch, Theo began to understand what had been missing from her dish. It wasn't love as humans romantically defined it, but vulnerability, the willingness to share one's true self. "Your cooking is technically perfect," he said softly. "But what you're sharing now, this is what was missing." Zara's eyes opened, looking into his with new understanding. "We are taught to control, to curate our emotional output. To do otherwise would be improper. Sometimes the most beautiful things come from letting go of control," Theo suggested. Zara stepped closer until there was barely space between them. "Will you teach me what it means to put love into it?" The question held no artifice, only genuine curiosity and something deeper that made Theo's heart race. That night, they began a different kind of cultural exchange, his human spontaneity meeting her Nixaran mindfulness. Their first kiss was tentative, exploratory, her lips cool against his but warming quickly. As they connected, Theo felt the same sunlit sensation spreading through him, but stronger now, threaded with something new, desire, curiosity, and growing affection. "Your emotions taste like stardust," Zara whispered against his mouth, her silver eyes shining with wonder. Blending worlds over the following weeks, Theo and Zara created their own private universe. By day, he continued his engineering work around the colony, while she returned to her duties in the kitchen. By night, they explored the uncharted territory between their species. "Your people express everything so openly," Zara observed one evening, as they lay entwined on the viewing platform of his quarters, watching twin moons rise over the Nixaran landscape. Her purple skin seemed to glow in the silvery light, making her look almost ethereal. "Too openly, according to most Nixarans," Theo replied, tracing patterns along her arm. He had learned that Nixaran skin was more sensitive than human, capable of absorbing emotional energy through touch. Each caress was both physical and something more, a sharing of his feelings that Zara could literally taste. "They don't understand," she said. "There is freedom in your chaos." Their relationship was not without challenges. Though most Nixarans respected their connection, some viewed it with concern. Emotional purity was highly valued in their culture, and they worried that Zara's talent would be compromised by the unpredictable human influence. "Elder Morik suggested I seek realignment today," Zara told him after a particularly difficult day. In the dim light of his quarters, the deeper purple markings along her cheekbones seemed more pronounced. A sign of stress Theo had learned to recognize. Realignment. He sat up concerned. A process to restore emotional clarity. She curled closer to him, her silver eyes troubled. "They believe my connection with you has made my cuisine too unpredictable." "Has it?" Theo asked, trying to keep the hurt from his voice. Zara was quiet for a moment, then placed her palm against his chest over his heart. Immediately, Theo felt a wave of emotion flow between them, not just affection, but fierce pride. "My work has never been more vibrant," she said simply. "What they fear is unpredictability. Others have called innovation. The diplomatic corps has requested my services exclusively for their next 3 summits." Relief washed through him, and he knew she could feel it. Their physical relationship had evolved into something neither human nor Nixaran, but uniquely theirs. When they made love, it wasn't just their bodies that joined, but their emotional landscapes as well, creating sensations that left them both transformed. Theo had begun to imagine a future here, extending his contract, perhaps permanently. But fate had other plans. The message from Earth Central arrived without warning. An engineering crisis at the Mars colony required his expertise. He was being recalled immediately, the transport already dispatched. When he told Zara, her usual composure fractured. For the first time, he felt fear radiating from her, fear of loss, of returning to the controlled existence she had known before him. 3 months, he promised, holding her close. The Mars situation won't take longer than that. Then I'll request a permanent transfer back here. 3 months is nothing in a lifetime, Zara whispered. But they both felt the uncertainty beneath her words. Interstellar relationships rarely survived long separations, and they both knew it. That night, their lovemaking held a desperate edge. Zara's emotional projections were raw and unfiltered. No longer the carefully curated experiences of a master chef, but the honest outpouring of someone facing loss. Theo responded in kind, pouring every ounce of his feelings into each touch, each kiss. As they lay together afterward, Theo feeling the pleasant hum of their emotional exchange still vibrating between them, Zara suddenly sat up. "I've been approaching this all wrong," she said, her silver eyes bright with realization. "What do you mean?" "I've been treating our separation as an ending." She placed both hands on his face, and he felt determination flowing from her. "Instead, it should be a beginning." Perfect recipe. The transport ship was scheduled to depart in less than 24 hours. Theo had spent the morning packing his few possessions, each item a reminder of his time on Nixara, of Zara. He hadn't seen her since the previous night, when she had left with a mysterious sense of purpose that she wouldn't explain. The chime of his communication panel broke through his melancholy. "Bennett here. Your presence is requested in the ceremonial kitchen," came the formal voice of a colony administrator, immediately. When Theo arrived, he found not just Zara but a gathering of the colony's highest-ranking officials, both human and Nixaran. The kitchen gleamed with ceremonial decorations, and at its center stood a creation unlike anything Theo had seen before. It resembled a miniature galaxy, swirling points of light and flavor suspended in a crystalline sphere. At its heart pulsed a core of intense violet light that matched the exact shade of Zara's skin. Zara stepped forward, more formally dressed than he had ever seen her, in traditional Nixaran ceremonial robes that accentuated her elegant purple form. "Theo Bennett," she addressed him, her voice carrying the formal tones of Nixaran ceremony. "You once said my cooking lacked love. Today I present a dish that contains nothing else." The gathering fell silent as she lifted the sphere and brought it to him. "This is called essence of devotion," she explained. "It is traditionally prepared only once in a Nixaran's lifetime." Understanding began to dawn on Theo as he recognized several of the Nixaran elders performing the roles of ceremonial witnesses. "Is this?" he began, but Zara silenced him with a gentle touch. "Among my people, when two souls wish to journey together, they create a shared essence." Her silver eyes held his. "If you accept this offering, you accept me, not just for now but for all journeys to come." The human officials looked on with surprised expressions, while the Nixarans maintained respectful solemnity. This was clearly more than just a farewell ceremony. "The choice must be yours," Zara continued. "Your people value freedom above all else. Mine value commitment. I offer you both." Theo looked at the swirling creation before him, understanding now what it represented. Not just Zara's feelings, but a binding promise, a Nixaran marriage proposal. "What about Mars?" he asked quietly. "I have been granted the position of cultural ambassador to the solar system," she replied, a hint of pride in her voice. "It seems the diplomatic corps was impressed by my innovations. If you accept, I will travel with you." Theo felt a surge of emotion so strong he was certain every Nixaran in the room could sense it. With trembling hands, he accepted the sphere. "How do I?" he asked. "Simply take it into yourself," Zara instructed. "It will become part of you, as I wish to be." As the sphere touched his lips, it dissolved into pure sensation, joy and fear, hope and determination, and beneath it all, a steady current of devotion that could only be described as love. The taste was indescribable, both alien and somehow familiar, like a memory he'd carried his whole life without knowing it. When it was done, he felt changed somehow, not just emotionally, but at some fundamental level, as if he now carried a piece of Nixara within him. "I can feel you," he whispered in wonder, even without touching. Zara's smile was radiant. "The connection will fade with distance and time," she explained, "but it can be renewed. strengthened. It is a beginning, not an ending. That evening, as they prepared for the journey ahead, Theo held Zara close in his quarters, feeling the gentle hum of their connection. Stronger now, more permanent. "Do you think they'll understand us?" he asked, thinking of Earth, of Mars, of the human colonies that had never encountered anything like their bond. Zara traced the line of his jaw with purple fingertips. "Perhaps not at first, but they will taste what we create together." Her silver eyes held a confidence he had never seen before. Some recipes take time to appreciate. As the artificial night deepened around them, they came together one more time before their journey, no longer as human and Nixaran, but as two beings who had created something new between them. Their bodies moved in perfect harmony, the emotional resonance between them amplifying every sensation, every touch. In the quiet aftermath, as Zara's purple skin cooled against his, Theo realized they had indeed created the perfect recipe, not in food but in the space between two worlds where something new and unexpected could flourish. "I love you," he said. The words simple but carrying all the complexity of what they had become together. Zara placed her hand over his heart, sending him not just the emotion but its true essence, deeper and more complex than any human word could capture. "And I, you," she whispered. "In all the languages of all the worlds we will discover together." The next morning, as the transport ship broke orbit from Nixara, they stood together at the viewing port, watching the purple and blue planet recede into the distance. But unlike most departures, this one held no sorrow, only the promise of what was yet to come, a future they would create together, one emotional ingredient at a time.